Montana, where the skies stretch wide and the land rolls untouched. A state that feels almost too big and too silent. But beneath the silence, something stirs. This episode, we enter Montana's folklore through 3 doors. The first leads us to Montana's Bitterroot Mountains, where stories of a beast lurk in the shadows of the trees. Then we'll visit a quiet hotel where whispers echo from the steam, and a lady in white still weeps. Finally, we'll descend beneath the glassy waters of Flathead Lake, where something ancient moves in the deep. So sit back, light a candle, and get ready for our 11th episode. I'm Drifter Voyages, and this is the 50th Room Podcast.
In the hollow sky where silence reigns, the stars look down like watching flames. 3 dark tales, the Rockies cry of the curse, the lost, and the ones who lie. Montana weeps through the wind's cold sigh beneath the hollow sky.
In the wild silence of Montana's Bitterroot Mountains, where the lands roll untouched and the shadows stretch longer than they should, there are things people don't talk about. Not out loud. Not if they want to sleep through the night. One of them is the Shunka Warakin. The name comes from Loe language and roughly translates to carries off dogs. But this isn't just a story of missing pets or campfire whispers. This is something older, wilder even, and much harder to explain away. It begins, as it often does, with a quiet evening. In 2005, a rancher outside Darby, Montana, was checking his livestock just after dusk. The mountains were starting to blur into night. He'd seen plenty of wolves, mountain lions, and even the occasional grizzly. But what he spotted that evening was different. Lurking near the tree line was an animal with jet black fur, larger than a wolf, lower to the ground than a bear. Its back was hunched and oddly sloped. Its legs seemed too long in the rear, too short in the front, like it wasn't made right, just a little off. And then, the creature howled. The rancher described the sound as a scream threaded with growling, like a human cry caught in a coyote's throat. The horses in the pasture bolted, the dogs hid, and when he raised his rifle and fired, the creature didn't flinch. It just stared back, calm, almost like it was calculating him. And then, the creature turned and disappeared into the trees. But this wasn't the first time the Shunka Warakin made itself known. In fact, its story goes back well over a century. In the 1800s, a man named Israel Hutchins, along with his son, claimed to have killed a strange beast near Madison River. They were so baffled by its appearance that they had it taxidermied and put on display. It had an elongated snout, curved, almost hyena-like teeth, a ridge of dark fur along its back, hooves in the front, and paw-like feet on its hind legs. They called it the Rinducus, a made-up name that fit the mystery. And then, decades later, the body disappeared. When cryptozoologists tried to track it down in the mid-1900s, it was gone. No records, no remains. Just an old photograph and whispers of a lost creature that should never have been. What makes the Shunka Warakin more than just a one-time oddity is its longevity. Reports continue. 1977, a trapper swears he saw a hyena-like creature near Glacier National Park. It moved without sound. It left no tracks. In 1992, a pair of hunters in the Pryor Mountains see something sleeking through the brush. When they approached, their rifles jammed. And in 2016, a backpacker camping in the Bitterroots hears something circle his tent for hours. When he finally steps outside at dawn, he finds a perfect ring of paw prints, only they only point inward, towards his tent. Different decades, same descriptions, same chilling howl. Always in the shadows of Montana's backcountry. I think what we need to do to help us understand the Shunka Warakin fully is you have to look deeper into the stories that were here long before settlers arrived. Among the Blackfeet, Lakota, and Crow nations, there are legends of dark spirit hounds, beings that aren't just animals, but omens, guardians of the underworld, punishers of pride, messengers of death. Some say the Shunka Warakin is one of these, a protector of wild places, or a hunter to those who take more than they need. Others believe it's a skinwalker, a cursed human bound to an animal form, driven by rage and hunger. In Crow stories, it's said that when the balance is broken, the black dog comes to restore it. And balance has been broken plenty of times in these hills. Of course, not everyone sees a spirit in the woods. Biologists have offered other ideas: an undiscovered wolf species, a mutated coyote, an escaped exotic predator bred for black market hunting. But the theories often fall short. Why does the creature never leave a body behind? Why does it seem immune to bullets? And why is it always just out of reach, until it's not? In 2018, a team from Montana University set motion trigger trail cameras across a known hotspot in Sapphire Mountain. For 3 months, they captured hundreds of photos: deer, mountain lions, even moose. But on one foggy morning, every single camera malfunctioned. The footage from the night before ends with the same frame: a blur of dark fur and 2 glowing eyes looking directly into the lens. Then there's the cases of the hikers. In 2021, 3 friends set out for a winter trek in the Bitterroots. They followed a narrow game trail deep into the wilderness. Hours in, they noticed odd tracks, too large for a wolf, but too narrow for a bear. They decided to follow the prints, until suddenly the prints stopped. And then, they saw them again. But this time, it was circling their own trail, not approaching, not retreating, just circling. It was watching them. They camped that night with their rifles loaded and a fire burning, but something kept moving just beyond the ring of light. Branches snapped, snow crunched. In the morning, the fire was out, their campsite undisturbed, except for a single track leading away, alone. The Shunka Warakin isn't famous. It doesn't sell postcards or welcome tourists. But to those who have seen it, to those who have heard its howl, it's as real as the land itself. A creature that belongs to another world, or maybe to a world we've tried to forget. So if you ever find yourself walking beneath the pines of Montana, and the wind dies suddenly, and the dog refuses to follow any further, turn back, because some things out there aren't meant to be found, and some things still hunt.
Steam still rises from Boulder Springs, but the wall
Out in the Bitterroot Mountains, it might feel lonely, but then just beyond the campfire light, you realize something is watching you. Now we turn to a place meant for rest and recovery, where steam rises and something waits within it.
bathed in light. Voices echo in tile and stone from rooms that no one calls their own. Laughter drips like rust from beams. A place where steam still carries scream.
In the valleys of southwestern Montana between Butte and Helena sits a building half forgotten by time, but never abandoned by memory. It was once a beacon for the sick and weary, a place where the land itself offered warmth and healing in the form of streaming mineral springs. This place that I speak of is the Boulder Hot Springs Hotel. Built in the late 1800s, it was imagined as a Victorian health resort, and for a while, it worked. The rich and desperate came to drink and soak in the waters, hoping to ease their ailments, consumption, rheumatism, heartbreak. But beneath its elegant columns and open verandas, the walls held secrets, the kind that doesn't dissolve with steam. Some say the springs still heal, others say they haunt. The Boulder Hot Springs was more than a spa. It was a symbol of belief in health, in nature, in second chances. Built near geothermal springs long revered by indigenous tribes for their restorative powers, the resort drew from both science and legend. By the early 1900s, it was thriving. Dozens of rooms, a grand dining hall, open-air porches, and one of the state's first fully integrated bathhouses. Doctors sent their patients there. Wealthy families booked months in advance. A modern miracle rising from the hills. But as Montana's mining towns swelled with transient workers, so too did the darker needs of their labor force. The hotel quietly expanded its services. Some rooms, never listed publicly, were rented by the hour, and deep within the steam tunnels, money changed hands for more than just treatment. There are no photographs of her, no confirmed last name, but nearly everyone who's worked in Boulder Hot Springs in the last century knows her name, Simone, or as she is sometimes called, the Lady in White. The most accepted version of her story begins in 1910. Simone was believed to be a young sex worker, brought to the hotel not as a guest, but as part of a silent business arrangement. She worked discreetly, away from the public eye. Some staff think she wanted out. Others claim she was blackmailing a prominent guest. What is agreed upon is this: she vanished. One night, she was simply gone. There was no arrest, no departure. Her room left untouched, and her belongings scattered. Within days, guests began to report strange things. The smell of perfume in empty halls, soft weeping near the baths, a chill that had nothing to do with the water temperature. Whispers began that Simone had been murdered, that her body had been hidden beneath the bathhouse, entombed in the network of steam tunnels carved through ancient rock, that her death had been made to disappear, but her presence had not. Witness accounts span decades. A traveling nurse staying the night in the 1950s described seeing a barefoot woman gliding silently down the hallway. When she called out, the figure turned, her face half covered by wet, stringy hair, and then disappeared into a cloud of rising steam. In 1984, a hotel guest heard knocking from inside the closet. When she opened it, no one was there, but the mirror on the door had fogged over. A single word was written in the condensation: "Stay." A caretaker in 1997 reported the elevator moving on its own, descending to the basement without being summoned. When he opened the gate, he heard breathing. Then a woman's voice: "I'm still waiting." Multiple paranormal investigators have captured EVPs in the steam room, low sobs, whispered pleas, and one phrase repeated often: "Don't forget me." A local psychic who stayed overnight said Simone was more than a ghost. She was a watcher, a witness, a fragment of grief burned so deep into the walls that she became part of the structure itself. "She isn't lost," the psychic said. "She's anchored." Despite the haunting, many report feeling an odd sense of comfort at Boulder Hot Springs. Guests have claimed that in their grief, they find peace here, almost as if someone unseen was sharing in their pain. One guest, mourning a recent miscarriage, wrote in the logbook, "It felt like someone was holding my hand in the steam, not trying to scare me, just being there with me." And yet, there is another side. In 2012, a group of paranormal researchers captured something unsettling. While conducting a spirit box session in the bathhouse after dark, the temperature dropped by 20 degrees in seconds. Then came a woman's voice, clear, mournful, edged in warning. "You're not ready," it said. Moments later, the youngest investigator collapsed. He claimed he saw a woman in white standing behind the steam, her hand on his shoulder. And when he looked again, she was gone. It's worth noting that official records from the Boulder area are incomplete. Rumors persist of unmarked graves on the property, patients from the hotel's days as a convalescent home who died quietly, without family, or worse, without names. One theory suggests Simone was buried near the old well, now sealed. Local legend says that the grass around it never grows quite right. And the hotel's blueprints does show a sealed room beneath the foundation. No entry, no key. Simone's story may be blurred by time, but her voice hasn't faded. Whether ghost or guardian, she lingers in the steam, waiting. So if you visit the Boulder Hot Springs Hotel, and the steam feels colder than it should, if your mirror fogs with words you didn't write, if you hear music with no source or footsteps that leave no shadow, don't run, don't hide, just listen. Because sometimes, ghosts don't want to scare you. They just want to be remembered.
And no one listens to the hills. They speak in wind and buried chills. The land is wide but not alone, and every ghost still calls it home.
Montana's mountains and buildings may have spirits, but the water, still and cold, hides something else entirely. Next, we look down into one of the deepest, coldest lakes in the country. Something is stirring beneath Flathead.
Three dark tales, the Rockies cry of the curse, the lost, and the ones who lie. Montana weeps through the wind's cold sigh beneath the hollow sky.
Montana's beauty often feels untouched, almost eternal. Glacial lakes shimmer under snow-capped peaks. Forests hum with ancient silence. It feels like a place preserved in time, but time has its shadows, especially in the depths of Flathead Lake. It is, by all accounts, breathtaking, over 27 miles long, nearly 370 feet deep. One of the cleanest freshwater lakes in the world. It's a postcard turned real. But for generations, locals have whispered the same warning. Don't stare too long into the still water, because something might be staring back. They call it the Flathead Lake Monster. The earliest recorded encounter came in 1889. Captain James C. Kerr, piloting the steamboat U.S. Grant, was halfway across the lake when passengers began to scream. Something was surfacing, massive, thrashing. Dozens of people described a long, serpent-like creature, dark, gray or black, with a ridged back and a head that cut through the water like a knife. Some said it looked like an eel. Others compared it to a dinosaur. One witness, a Presbyterian minister, wrote in his journal, "It rose like a whale, but twisted like a snake. I do not believe it was of this earth." Over 100 people on board, all of them saw it, and that was just the beginning. Since that day, there have been over 100 reported sightings. In 2005, a seasoned fisherman near Big Fork reported his boat rocking violently, though the lake was calm. He turned, expecting a rogue wave, but there was none. Just a shadow, sliding under the surface, stretching longer than his entire boat. In 2013, a group of recreational divers testing sonar equipment near Yellow Bay captured something they couldn't explain. It wasn't just a shape, one said. It moved against the current. It growled, not like a fish, like something ancient. In 2018, a kayaker near Wild Horse Island shore claimed to see a bus-sized shadow pass beneath him, silent, slow, and impossibly large. The stories vary, but the descriptions, they remain strikingly consistent. Long and dark, rough armored ridges, eyes glowing in some versions, dull in others, and always just barely visible, as though the monster knows exactly how much to reveal to the people unlucky enough to catch a glimpse. Skeptics, of course, offer explanations. Flathead is home to lake trout and whitefish, both large species. Some suggest that misidentified sturgeon, prehistoric spiny and monstrous in their own right, could be the culprit. Others blame wave reflections, floating logs, or optical illusions caused by glacier water clarity. But even biologists admit there's something strange going on. In 2007, a luminologist from the University of Montana commented, "There are areas of Flathead that have never been fully explored. Submerged caves, glacial sinkholes. It is entirely possible something, possibly a large unknown species, could exist in the lake's deep strata." Still, others believe it's not just biology we're dealing with. Long before European settlers arrived, the Kootenai people had their own stories about the lake. They spoke of the Naitika, a great serpent-like spirit who lived in deep waters. It wasn't just a creature. It was a guardian and a judge. The Naitika would punish those who disrespected the lake, who overfished or polluted or ignored sacred laws. Children were taught to never throw rocks into the water. Elders warned that shimmering ripples were not always caused by wind. The stories tell of fishers disappearing, of boats pulled under, of dreams filled with deep, echoing growls. When asked today, tribal elders often smile, but say very little. One anonymous elder said only, "The lake remembers." In 2009, a drone operator hired to capture real estate footage over Flathead's southern bay recorded something chilling. As the drone passed 40 feet above the water, it caught a shadow, enormous, slithering clear as day. It moved independently against the current, and then, without warning, it dived down and was gone. The footage made local news. Experts couldn't agree. Too smooth to be a log, too large for any known fish, and the lake, as usual, offered no response, no waves, just silence. Folklorists and cryptozoologists offer other, more esoteric theories. That the monster is a tulpa, a creature willed into reality through generations of belief. That it could possibly be from a dimensional slip, like a skinwalker range phenomena, something that bleeds between realms. Or that it's not a creature at all, but a memory, a psychic echo of the Earth's ancient past, a warning left behind. Perhaps it's a trick of the light, a fish we haven't yet classified, or a lie passed down like a family recipe, changing just slightly with each retelling. Or perhaps it's exactly what they say it is. It's something that lives in the deep, older than the water, hungrier than the dark, waiting. So if you ever stand alone at the edge of Flathead Lake, and the wind is still, and the water is too quiet, don't toss a rock, don't speak, just watch, because it may already be watching you.
Out on Flathead Lake, there's something deep.
And there you have it, 3 supposedly true tales from the lands of Montana. Wide open, wild, and waiting. But don't be fooled by Montana's silence. Beneath the stars and sky, things still move. Things that never left. Things that never should have been. Thank you for listening to the 50th Room Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, then please leave a 5-star review. It helps the show reach other fans of creepy folklore and stories. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Just search at the 50th Room Podcast. If you have tales of your own, then please send them in. I love reading your stories. Thank you so much for your support. And until next time, stay cautious, stay curious, and remember, out in the wilds of Montana, it may feel wide and empty, but you never know what might be watching just beyond the campfire light's glow. Stay haunted.
In the hollow sky where secrets drift, where the veil grows thin and the spirits shift, 3 true tales stitched into night of fire, water, and pale moonlight. Montana mourns what won't say why beneath the hollow sky. So when you ride those plains alone, know the sky has eyes and it brings you home.